Hey everybody. Yes, this song was This Is Your Life by Switchfoot, which is a band that I got to see a whole lot of with my teenagers years and years ago. And I just thought that was a great song for our time together tonight as we dig into the wheel of life and brain dump and creating our own bingo. So welcome. My name is Jennifer Ogilvy. I get to be your on-screen facilitator. I'm coming to you from the Dallas, Texas area, a town called Garland. Seeing, yeah, and it is an oldie, Gina, right? I told Maya tonight, who is also on the call. She is my co-facilitator, and she'll be hanging out in the chat with you. I told her, I said, like, I'm bringing the 90s back, the late 90s, early 2000s. It's such a good song, so powerful. Switchfoot has really deep lyrics. So if you ever need a little contemplative, mood music, go listen to some Switchfoot. So yeah, so you are here. This is journal prompts number one. We have 3 sessions this month of taking care of some of these different pages together. I love doing these with the Sonder family. I'm more apt to do them, and I am more apt to do it when I have the support of a fabulous community to hold my hand and walk through it with me, because sometimes these are tough, right? So we're all together. So good to see you. So yeah, make sure your chat is set to everyone. That's how we'll communicate. If you're here for the first time, just drop a me. Yes, Lisa just put that this is her first time. Welcome, Lisa. We do like again it just I don't know. It's like we're sitting in a big old room doing this together, and it just feels a little more like there's less pressure to tackle these pages when we're with one another. So we're glad you're here. We hope that you become a repeat participant in the socials. It's a really great way to be connected. Even though it's virtual, it's probably one of the favorite places for me to hang out. So yeah, we're in this new journal. We have this great community. There are the guidelines. I know many of you have already seen these 100,000 times, but we do post them just to remind you to be kind and courteous to one another, and that reminder that we create safe spaces for ourselves, for ourselves personally, but also for one of it. Carla says Zoom was being zoomy. Also, you may be watching this on the off of the Silk and Sonder YouTube channel. You may be accessing this recording. It is being recorded tonight, and so if you're here in person, you can always go back. Oh my goodness, a lot of you had Zoom issues. Well, I'm so sorry. I'll keep chatting a little bit so we can hopefully let everybody get on the call. If there's a little Zoom goblins out there. Wow. Okay, lots. Well, thank you for letting us know that, because we can also bubble that up to headquarters and they can investigate and see what was up with that. Wow. So, lots of you are having issues tonight. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for letting us know. Maya's gonna, she'll let HQ know that something's a little goofy, because we do want this to be easy for you. You don't need to come here even more stressed just trying to get here. All righty. But thank you for letting us know. I want to make a couple of housekeeping announcements before we really get digging in. One is we have been talking about Bailey doing an in-person meetup in the Hendersonville, Tennessee area. And that's going to be coming up in November. So if you are in that community, if you are, traveling through and you wanted to work that in, we'll give Maya a minute. I know she's visiting with headquarters, but she'll find that link and drop that into the chat. So keep an eye on that if you are a Tennessee person, and you can go to Bailey's in-person Sonder Social, of real life meetup. Additionally, coming up in this month is this beautiful exclusive. Remember, with the exclusive, there's a nominal fee. But on October 23rd, Meha has a special guest coming in to really start talking about exploring your childhood wounds. And I had said it's so perfect with resilience because I heard a talk show, earlier in the month that somebody said, adulthood is the time we spend recovering from our childhood. So, anyway, I think that's going to be a really, really meaningful exclusive that you'll want to find out. And if you are part of our personalized life coaching, it's referenced there at the bottom of the screen. That's now being called our life map. If you hear us talk about life map, that's what it is. And yes, Ellen, it is going to be recorded. And then I was going to say, if you are part of the personalized life coaching life map, there is the vault that contains the exclusives that you would have access to as a member of the personalized coaching. So, okay, Tanya, welcome. We've heard that it was terrible to sign in tonight, and I'm so sorry. We're gonna, Maya's gonna is has already communicated to headquarters that there are issues. So, we're just glad you're here, everybody. So we're gonna take a deep breath before we get going. I'm sorry there were those challenges. You are a resilient bunch, Sonder family. Just try to hang with me. Um, if you've been to one of my weekly setups or my monthly setup, I put this graphic here with resilience because I just think this is resilience, this graphic. It's like, keep going, my girl. You could be so close and not even know it. And we have all been through stuff in life, and you climb and you climb and you climb and you think you're never going to get to the top, but you keep going and all you see are clouds, and then before you know it, you've made it and you tackled it and you did it, and you can look back and go, okay, I've got this tool in my back pocket now. I survived and did it. Oh my goodness, y'all are still coming in. Well, I'm going to still chat about resilience then while we let everybody get on. um so anyhow, I'm keeping this graphic up because it really, really spoke to me about our theme. I have shared at my weekly setups when I was um in college, I recycled a research paper many times, adding to it. And this is back in the days when there wasn't Google. So I had to go like the card catalog at the physical card catalog at the library and pull, they called it microfiche. You old people know what I'm talking about. Um, and Kimberly, we will figure that out. Yeah, we'll see what we can do. But anyway, I did a lot of research on resilient children into adulthoods. My background was my degree was human development, and there was just something about resilience, and some of it was me. I think I was a pretty resilient young adult, and so this theme is so strong for me this month. So I'm excited to just kind of walk it with y'all. Okay. I keep chatting because I'm trying to let everybody get in. But yeah, I wrote like four different big research papers on it, and it just got better and bigger and better. Now I wish I had like the final one, because I think resilience is such an area of exploration. Like, what is it about some folks that you just get through that? Anyway, alrighty. So I'm going to, yeah, we did Wheel of Life in July. I think Maya was actually on that session. We had one in April. So these show up about 4 times a year. So we're going to do one tonight. That's our first activity on our agenda. And then we're going to do our brain dump. And I'm real excited because I think your brain dump may actually spin off from what you talk about and look at and explore in your Wheel of Life tonight, which is so cool that we're going to have that opportunity to really dig in. And then we're going to do our Create Your Own Bingo. And I have a lot of fun bingo boards to share with you. If y'all know one thing about Jennifer Ogilvy, it's that she loves a bingo card. So We've got lots of fun things to make this bingo live in your journal, and I'm gonna, I'm always saying do it every week. So I want to invite you to turn to page 7. It's right up there in the front of your journal tonight. And I sure hope that we've got everybody in and accounted for. And again, apologies for those Zoom goblins. I don't know what's going on, but they're getting on it. They'll look at it so that we have to make sure. Um, yeah, oh, yeah, VFW bingo, right? During I go to the camp house in Burnett and they have VFW bingo on Thursdays, and it is on my list to do. All right, so anyway, so page 7 is your wheel of life. Now, you may have done one of these before. But it's okay if this is your very first time. We're going to kind of walk through it. Bingos can be fun to do with someone like your spouse or your significant other too. That's kind of fun. Uh, anyway, okay, so wheel of life. So we've got these 10 categories, and I've got a whole suggestion of other things that you might want to use if one of these categories doesn't speak to you, but it's career, financial, personal growth, spiritual, your spiritual life, your health, fun and leisure, romance, friends and family, community, home environment. And I want to, the very first thing I want to tell you about the wheel of life is that the goal is not to have tens everywhere, because that person would be probably so exhausted if everything was rated a 10. What we do with this graphic is that it's a way for us to collect data on our life, and then we look at it all in one place, and we can see areas of maybe deficit, or that they're not as strong as we'd like them to be in comparison to maybe some of the areas that are going really well. Why is that important? It's important because we want to look for balance. So you may be really close with, maybe you have a bunch of 6, 7, and 8s, and they're kind of scattered throughout. That to me looks like a very balanced person if they're all sort of in those ranges. And you may have one that's high, but like if you've got everything that's maybe rated, in 3s and 4s, then you're probably tired. Or what if you look at career, that number one pie wedge, and it's a 10, and everything else in your life is low, a 3, a 4? That gives you this picture, right? This data of, oh, I need to do some shuffling, to maybe I need to not put so much time in my professional life, to perhaps balance out my family life in a more reasonable manner. So it's this picture that will tell you kind of what's going on. Now, if you are on the personal coaching life map um, platform, that you have a space for your wheel of life. You have a way of going in and updating your wheel of life as often as you'd like, and it will give you the data all in one place so you can watch your trends over, months and months and months. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. Um, I updated mine on September 25th. And so that's a way of looking at it. So there's just some basic information about your wheel of life. Now, let's take a look at some things to think about. So we're going to look at each one of these areas, and you're going to rank each area from 1 to 10. What do you think is good? And 10 is like, yeah, I am aligned, I am satisfied, I am fulfilled. And that might be the best lens to look through, is like, how fulfilling is my career? How fulfilling is my romantic life? Or how satisfied? Now, I also want you to be sure that you are considering your current reality, right? This is a very personal exercise, so it's going to look different for all of us. So, what is your reality? I know that there's lots of us that may be going through some health issues, and so health may be low. And so right now you're like, "But yes, it's a 3. I'm recovering from surgery." Let's just say you're thinking this. And so that's your reality, and you can embrace that and say, "Okay, right now, that's where it is. I'll set some goals to get it high, but I'm okay with it being a 3. I'm recovering. I'm in recovery mode." So make sure you are framing this through what is going on in your world right now. Make sure that you're feeling authentic in those answers. And then, of course, permission to rename any category that will better fit in your life. So I put some other ideas over here. You could maybe take all 10 of these slices and create titles for the different roles you play in your life. Are you an educator, a wife? A friend, a daughter, a granddaughter, an aunt, all the different hats you wear. And you could rate that so that you could see like where your relationship energy is going. What does your self care look like? Do you have enough creativity in your life? You may take something like number 5 that says health and really hone in on something like nutrition or exercise. So you might want to kind of keep it health, but you might want to get very pinpointed because it's an area that you are wanting to work on. So there's a whole list of things like hobbies. I know that Maya is a beautiful knitter, and so instead of hobbies, hers might be named, knitting, because that's where she's going to pour her energy, and then she can look how fulfilled or how satisfied am I in that thing that is such a passion for me. So break it down into things that are your reality. So let's show you some examples, and then I'm going to give you a chunk to work on. So, Andy, that's a great question. So, community, you get to kind of define, but I kind of think of community outside of family roles, like maybe your neighborhood. But you get to kind of define that. Maybe if a church community is very important to you, that's what you focus on. Or I'm going to show you my community. I've got a good talking point to that. Let me show you what I'm talking about in just a second. I've got my example up here. So this person, I don't know if this is yours. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, yes, there is a wheel of life in the life map stuff. Carla, for sure. It's in one of the little folders up at the top. You kind of have to go digging. Um, so this person did they ranked all their things, and I'm gonna suggest you do it first with a pencil and eraser before you get to coloring or graphing. Um, and what this person noticed is the areas that were kind of thriving, that the higher numbers, they color coded that with turquoise and rated that as I'm satisfied. And then what they're kind of working on is color coded in purple. So their education and health and marriage. And then where did they need major work? That was like a red flag. And so you can see financial, gosh, was only given like 2 little bands were colored in for financial. The home environment, 4. And so that's where I need to throw my attention. I need to get a little more balance in my life with those things that are super low. So the color coding is just that great visual to look at that. So remember how I was telling you about my wheel of life. So I did one where I just did a bar graph. If a bar graph speaks to you, we've got those great notes pages. So that is one of mine. And I put my wheel of life from 2021. And I want you to look at, I think I did relationships instead of community. And it was a 3 because of the timing. I had moved during COVID, and I was in a new community. I did not go to church. I did not know my neighbors. And so, like, in my life at that time, it was a 3. And that was my relationships or my community, that other part of me. It wasn't my romantic relationship, my intimate relationship with my husband, my person. And it wasn't family. It was like all the other people I'd left on my friends, et cetera, et cetera. And so that was a low point for me. So that's kind of how I define community. It's out there, but you get to do what you want. You could do this whole thing on community and rate your 10 areas of being plugged in your life. And so then you can see the example on the left. They've actually taken the titles and have written them on the perimeter of the circle there, and then they've colored in, but they've also done some thought processes, right? They've written some things that they're thinking about. So, for example, career, I need to be more vocal about my concerns, but I believe that I am where I am for a reason. So, kind of doing that. All righty. The one on this example on the left, we have renamed category number 9 into self-care. So again, taking what you need for your wheel of life. Again, some journal responses in that example over there. And then this one, I believe, might have been Kimberly's, perhaps. And it is just a practice of gratitude in each one of these areas. So you don't necessarily have to rate. You can maybe just sit with this and look at it through the lens of gratitude for each one. I do. I know. And I think it was part of your colorful life when you were leaning into your colorful life, Kimberly. Yes, this is Kimberly. So thank you for posting that, Kimberly. Something else you can do is you can set a time frame on your wheel of life. So you can do a today look at things, and every slice of pie there gets divided in half. So you can see how this person did that. They put a black line and they have a start and an end, and you get to define the end. So maybe you say, at the end of November, I'm going to give myself a month and a half. And at the end of November, I'm going to come back to my wheel and see if any of these categories have changed. So you can kind of divide each slice in half and do a check-in with yourself. And then yeah, so let's just stop right here for now. I'm going to give you time to marinate over these topics, these different categories. I'll go back through all of these slides. I'm going to hold on some of those suggestions for changing the slide name or the category names, and just kind of think about, on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied am I? Do I feel like within my reality, what my life has brought me right now, am I fulfilled? And then use that question to come up with the number that you assign. Feel free to share. Y'all are already sharing, and the support I'm seeing is fabulous. It's hard for me to talk and read at the same time. I'm going to go back and look through all of that, but I already see a lot of support. So share as you are comfortable sharing, and then we're going to come back and do a little mini reflection with our wheel. Alrighty, you may still be contemplating, looking at this wheel of life, kind of figuring out what you want to do with this. Now, you don't have to fill out all 10 areas. If you feel a little overwhelmed by looking at 10 areas, then maybe you do 5 things in your life right now, and you might set it up like that bar graph on one of your notes pages and leave the wheel for now and then go back and revisit your little bar like I was showing you on mine. Like that one, my adventure was really high because we had just taken this big leap of faith with moving, but I saw the imbalance with the relationships that I had left behind, and so that helped me see graphically. And several of you have already talked about, like, wow, when I see when I see it, I see the imbalance. And again, it's not about getting to 10 in all of them. It's about understanding the areas of your life right now where you are, where that might just need a little attention, and maybe areas of your life that maybe you've gone a little overboard with, and you might want to back up a little bit to pour energy into something else that is important to you. So again, it's about taking the categories you want. You could, like I said, you could just be the different roles you play, and you could do 5 of them, right? Instead of feeling like you've got to tackle this whole thing. So we're going to continue to work on our wheel a little bit, but now I want you to kind of look at your areas. And if you've done this before, you can notice those changes. And that means it's time to get curious, like, oh, what changed? And was it changed for the good, and honor the things that you've put into place to maybe bring something up a notch or two? Or if something has really slipped, what's going on? I was looking at mine, and like my romance is probably that intimate relationship that I have with my husband, dates, talking. That's gone way down the pipe since he had his surgery and has been in recovery, and he's grumpy, and and so that's an area I'm noticing, like, oh, okay, what can we do to boost that relationship a little bit more? So circle your top 3, or put a little heart around them, or little stars, like, yeah, those are the good things. I'm proud of those. I'm gonna kinda let those hang out. And then think about the theme that we have this month, and maybe even last month with bravery. Like, how does resilience play into those higher ranked categories, especially if you've moved a notch or 2? Like, what does that say about what you've done, those areas that you're thriving? And then we're going to also take a look at the lower 1 or 2 areas in our lives. And I want you to put on your resilience cap, and through that lens is think of a plan, a step you can take toward maybe ranking this up a little bit. And I want you to think about how you want to show up for yourself within like, what is your reality? What are you able to do? Like, we're not going to go away and take a long trip right now, right? Because he's still in recovery mode. But what are some things that could be done to where we have more moments of connection? So that's what I'll be looking at. And then take that one small step and figure out a way it can show up in your journal. Can you go put it in with an intention, right? That those pages that we always work on at the front of the month. Is there a habit that you can pair, something new with in your tracker so that that small step begins to happen? Or your weekly habit and activity, is there something you can start doing there? Should you go revisit your start, stop, and continue box that is on our reflections page? Is there something with that lower space that you could frame out in the mindset of, what can I start, what can I stop, and what can I continue? So I'm going to put on a little bit more music while we kind of do that reflection over the highs and the lows, and then the plan that we're going to make. And again, feel free to share in the chat as you're comfortable. Carolina, I agree with you. She says, it's enough for me to just note where I am. And yes, it is. It's good to just kind of get that pulse on where you are in life. And right now, it might just be easier to sit with it and let the plan come when you have the energy for that. So thank you for that call out. That's an excellent point. Like you can be okay with a low number. I was sharing earlier, like I know a lot of you have had some medical journey issues. And so it might be a 3 and you may be that's where it is. And it's just going to be there for right now and we'll reevaluate at another time. Um so you may be still sitting with this. So I want to now invite you to turn to page 19, which is our brain dump. And the directions say release the tension in your jaw and stretch and take a couple of big old deep breaths. And then just start writing down everything that is churning in your mind. And there may be a lot, right? It may be that you want to just dump about this wheel of life and the thoughts that are coming up for you. Like, I'm just going to sit with this right now, and here's why, and here's what I'm feeling, and here's what I'm thinking. There's no right or wrong way to do a brain dump. It truly is about writing, writing, writing. So it can be simple, it can be complex. You can make a list, you can do doodles. Just what is taking up space in your mind? It could be what's been taking up space in your mind for the month, or it could be just right now, this wheel of life and responding to that. Um, Another idea about that wheel of life is sitting back and just looking at it like you were looking at a stranger's wheel of life, like somebody you don't know. What does it tell you? And just write about what you see. Be very, take the emotion out of it and just dump. Just write what you're seeing. I wonder why it's like that. That kind of thing. If you are, yes, a doodle dump. Exactly. You can just do that. And I mean, this doesn't have to be pretty. Think about dump. It's like you just throw it out there. You might have big screaming words about some things or little bitty words about others. Now, if you're like, I can't even think, I can't even get going, I have a bunch of questions here that you can look at, and maybe one of these will like get the things turning because we all know that once we dive into our journal and start doing that work, it's sometimes hard to stop. And so I have two sets of questions, lots of different questions here that could maybe spark that brain dump for you. But this is so good. It's almost like when you go into a messy kitchen and you do the dishes and you put things away and you wipe off the countertops and you do all that decluttering. That's what's going on in your brain. You're putting all these things away into a space and giving power by addressing it and putting it down on paper. So I'm going to give you some time for writing and then we'll come back and as things come up, just drop that in the chat. And look, if you need a little support, let us know. We're glad to be here for you. I feel like I'm probably interrupting a beautiful flow of words, but I do want to make sure we get to look at our bingo cards for the month. But I want to say about the brain dump, this is such a good activity to get that decluttering, to get all those things that are, bouncing around in your head just down on paper. And I know that sometimes when I have a hard time sleeping, it's very helpful to just start writing, and it kind of helps calm, my brain down. So a couple of you are talking about how this is very similar to the artist's way, and doing the morning pages where you just start writing. Yeah, write it out. Just get it, put power into your paper. So I'm glad that you spent time on this brain dump. And you may continue now, or you may want to pick it back up at another time and keep writing, but it's a good practice to do. So we're going to be on page 21 for the bingo, and some of you may have already done your bingo, but I'm going to go through and just show you some ideas of how to set your bingos up. And we can do bingos in the weeklies, in our all our notes pages. I always suggest to make a copy or two of a blank bingo page from your journal, because they're fun to do as a family, as a couple. They're fun to do as your cleaning list, and it's so satisfying to, color those things in as they happen. But here's some things to think about. We've got the Silk and Sonder app that's got several games going right now. You might want to create a themed board: autumn, self-care, cleaning and decluttering, relationships, hobbies. Perhaps you start your early holiday planning by doing a bingo board. We've got many holidays coming up in the next 3 months. You could do a photo challenge and take pictures of certain things, book chapters and mark off spots as you could read 25 chapters and write, color those in. Give each column its own theme. I've got a couple of examples of that to show you. Perhaps you're learning something new. You can break it down into steps, and as you accomplish those steps, color those places in on your bingo card. You could also use this to track the use of your journal, to point you in to each of the weekly setups, to your habit tracker, to your intentions. You could set that up to support your journal work. Maybe foods you want to eat. I got a cute example of that. Perhaps you create a scavenger hunt for the fall. So here are the fall and October challenges that you'll find in Sonder Club when you go all the way down and you click on the games. And so those are always fun to join, and you can do that on the app, but you can also take some of those things and put them in your bingo card. We've got a couple of fun graphics here to inspire some ideas to go on your autumn bingo card, like your self-care. I love that. And remember, this is being recorded, so you'll be able to go back and look at these and pause on the page. Now, if you're very creative, and if this is yours, I love this. But you could draw these. This is the same card, but you can see as things were done, they got colored in. So it was that, created all these. Oh, Amy, I love that. She just said the brain dump was so helpful. I'm so glad for that. Um, this person drew all the little pictures, and then as they did it, they colored it in. That is just so cute. So cute. So I love that. And here's some more kind of fall themes with just the fun things. And as you do it, you can mark off by coloring it in, by just tracing around the box as you accomplish it. I know these super talented. I just write my words. Maybe you're starting to think about the holidays. So there's a holiday card, so you can kind of think about that bingo card in like there's all these different things coming up, and so you could put things, maybe your Christmas list starts now, all the to-dos for your holidays, the December, Hanukkah, and Christmas, and the big family things. What can you start doing now to plan your prep thing? The one on the right, you can see lots of things that tie back to the journal, right? So the coloring page, Wheel of Life, they're going to color in when they do all of those items. You don't have to fill them all in. Look at this great example on the left. That's a great reminder that, you can just kind of take what you need and take it in smaller bites if you don't feel like doing 25, 24 things. The one on the right, this person, it's so cute. You could just do the words, but the pictures are really, really cute. I would be doing the words. But then when they eat these certain things, they just mark around the box to mark that off. And they're trying to try all these different foods in the month. I thought that was a really great. I know lots of us try to eat the rainbow. It's a great way to do that. The one on the left here is one of my former bingos, and I gave it categories. So I had a food and drink category, create, spending time with my hobbies, a self-care column, going outside activities, get out of this house. And then the media that how was I going to consume my media? So I broke it down into different categories, as did the one on the right. So that's kind of a fun way to set up your bingo card. Here's another one that's just delightful. A lot of pretty colors on there. And, then we've got this was an old one, but I love it because they gave themselves 3 wild card spaces on their card, so that as things maybe came their way, maybe they found out about something exciting happening in their city or an activity they wanted to do, they just left these spaces to just be open to what life might bring their way. So I kind of like that idea of a wild card. And then this is Gretchen Rubin's Clear the Decks Bingo. That's kind of her tidying up bingo, and an autumn bucket list, another place to pull fun ideas from. Maybe your bingo card becomes your autumn bucket list or your fourth quarter bucket list, and you get some fun things done because you've put it on a card. There's also this idea of leaving yourself a grace space or two or three. And on those days that don't go so great, you just stop and give yourself grace and let it go and then go color it on your bingo card. You don't have to do a blackout. There's lots of fun ways that you can color in to track that. So they make you stress. Oh, Lori, and isn't that funny? Because we're all different. I love a bingo. It kind of makes me gamify my life. So it's all about taking what you need. So I know that we are at time. I am going to put on a very quick song and I'll go back through these. If you saw something you like, you might want to grab a screenshot, but also remember you'll be able to access on the YouTube, Silk and Sonder YouTube channel. And I am again so sorry about the Zoom glitch, but let me put on just a little bit of music. I'll scroll through these again so you can grab something if maybe something caught your eye. laughing about that, bingo isn't for everybody and coloring stresses some of you out. Um, I wanna invite you to a coloring social anyway and bring something that you like to work on with your hands. It's a slow social, and it will be a good time for resetting and finding your flow. So you don't have to color at the coloring social, but you can carve out that time. So I invite you to do that. Please feel free to share any of your pages as you are comfortable. Maya's dropped in the information for Bailey's meetup in real life. And then, of course, another shout out for our Exploring Childhood Wounds exclusive coming up later this month. Thank you for being resilient and recovering from our Zoom glitches tonight. I'm gonna drop the play. I'm on Spotify. There's a lot more music. I just dropped my Spotify link for the social music that we listened to tonight, and there's some more tunes on there. I had to cut some of it out since we lost some time. But I do just applaud you for digging into that wheel of life and then for embracing this idea of just a brain dump and putting all those things that are taking up space in your head down on paper. Maybe you can sit with your brain dump later, sort it out, cross through the things that are standing in your way, get rid of them, make some new fresh lists and some new goals. And perhaps those will plug into the categories of your wheel of life. Friends, thank you for being so supportive of one another, and we will see you soon.